All right, what's going on, guys? So today we got another video. Have another veteran here. Well, soon to be veteran. I don't know. You're not quite out yet, right? You have a year out.
Correct. Yes, I have. According to the Army, I have a year left, but if I include my terminal leave, I'm out of
Tur
10 months.
Okay, that includes your maternal leave. So, anyways, guys, I have a longtime friend here who was also in the military. He was in the army, or he is in the army. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
I appreciate that, Troy. Yeah, definitely. So, hey, folks, those are out there. My name's Stefan, 26 years old. I'm in the United States Army. I've been serving for about 7 years now. By the time I get out, it will be 8 years. I am a fire control specialist. I'm not a firefighter. So, I work in the field artillery realm, which involves rockets and cannons. And some duty stations that I've been at in the past few years, I've been stationed in Korea, Oklahoma, and now based out of Fort Carson, Colorado.
Oh, dope. All right. So, can you describe your job like in a nutshell, like pretty much what you do on a day-to-day basis?
Ooh, day to day. I feel like the military day to day is always
Different,
different
right?
for everyone's jobs. Yeah. So
Yeah,
my job in
chef.
the army, being combat arms, most of the time when you are just stateside, it's always just training, certifications until you deploy and actually like do your job. So most of the time in the rear, my job consists of using a computer and I digitally and manually send fire missions to a gun crew, either in a cannon or a rocket launcher. So just quick example, if you've seen the news of Ukraine, like, and they're using HIMARS, like that's like one of the equipments that I work with folks who operate the HIMARS, which is for rockets. Just a quick example of what I do.
All right, so cooler stuff than finance, that's for sure. Um,
It's all right.
so yeah, so there it goes without saying you're 8 years, so I mean you must have been happy. I mean that's what you met your wife, right, in the army, and now you have
Correct.
a little
Yes.
family and everything. So I mean things seem to work out. Did you ever have aspirations to do like maybe like your second year in, you're like, man, I should have joined the Navy or something like that? Or are you kind of glad you did the Army and it's been a positive experience pretty much all in all?
So far, just going back to your question, like, do I regret joining the army? It kind of like it always depends day to day, right? Depending on the people you work with, I'm like, dang, I wish I wasn't here. But most of the time, I think I've had some positive experience in the army. The military in general, you do meet a lot of good people that you always end up becoming like lifelong friends. You can always meet and talk to, whether they're still in or they get out. But in the military, I think I've had more positives, right? Met my beautiful wife out in South Korea when I was there the first time. Uh, had an amazing kid with her. Had my second kid out in South Korea again. The opportunity to deploy and kind of like see different countries at the same time. And I think the one thing the military, hopefully not jumping too far, but being in the military, it's taught me to have people skills and work with people from all walks of life. Normally civilian side, you might not get that, but in the military, when you're forced to move different areas, you're forced to adapt and like learn new people, meet new people, and kind of just go with that flow.
Yeah, you're definitely put in so many different scenarios to where you have to work with a team, and in that team you might really get along with somebody and really not get along with somebody else,
Yeah.
and you're forced to be with this person or these people every single day, regardless of how you feel. And the military definitely teaches you to kind of put your feelings aside and just embrace the suck, as they say. um so cool. I mean, that's awesome. So now you're where you're stationed at right now?
So stay currently I'm stationed based out of Fort Carson, Colorado.
Okay, cool. And then this is your last duty station, and then you're off pretty much.
Correct. Yeah. So I actually re-enlisted for Fort Carson for 2 years short. So this was a year ago exactly that I re-enlisted for Fort Carson because of the benefits and opportunities out here. So
Mhm.
last duty station.
Okay, cool. And so let's get into like your plan now. So you're a year out, so you push the button and you're getting
Mhm.
ready to transition out. And I'm assuming, I mean, I've seen your LinkedIn, I've seen, you know, you've been grinding, trying to prepare for this transition. And so kind of get into a little bit of how you've been you know, going about this transition process and how you've been uh, figuring out your path out, basically.
Yeah, definitely choice. So I started this process 2 years out, maybe two and a half. So at that 2 year mark, I already decided like, hey, the military, I kind of want to try other things out, want to get out. So I give credit to this agency that I'm working with. That I was on Reddit one day. For those that program, I was on the Learn Programming subreddit, and there was an individual named Leon who posted that he hosts a free 30-week web development bootcamp for those that were affected by a pandemic, open and free to anybody, all walks of life. So at that time, uh, I was inspired to code by Jed Cal. I watched his day in the life software engineering video, and I was like, oh, I would like do that. So I was
He
trying
has
to like
great
figure out how to
videos, yeah.
do. Yes, very great videos. Shout out Jed. But yeah, I was trying to figure out what videos. Hopped on the subreddit, and then I joined this boot camp that started this exact time last year, and it was 30 weeks. And I knew I was 2 years out. I asked the wife, I was like, hey, babe, I'm going to do a boot camp and I'm going to need some time off, like after work during the duty day. So after we get off 1700, spend some time with the kids. And, from like 21, from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m., like I'm studying,
Yeah.
working just every night, just trying to learn a new skill.
No, definitely. Yeah, that's very similar to Mikhail, the last person I was the last interview I did. I mean, he did the same something similar. Like he went off and he did training just to get, build this skill and that's it was relatively similar to what he was doing in the army already, but he knew that in with this whole transitioning process, a lot of these, you have a lot of applicable skills that you gain from the military, but once you're out, I mean, it's like cherry picking. There's only so many things that you can take, and then you need like real world applicable skills in whatever job you're trying to go, right? Like I worked finance, but like half the stuff I did in this job in the military doesn't translate into the civilian world, especially if you pick a specific sector, right? And if you're
Mhm.
picking a specific whatever sector in computer engineering or programming, it's not all the same, right? So that's definitely a great point from especially the last video and this video. It's that preparation, right? It's that
Mhm.
building those skills. Did you pay for that out of pocket, or was that TA or?
No. So the whole thing is 100% free. No TA, no GI Bill.
Oh, cool.
It's not even a boot camp. It's not military dedicated. It's like for anybody.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter who. So I think I feel very like that I caught that opportunity and like just ran with it till now. So now that I'm like 10 months out, I have a skill set that's in demand. Now it's just a matter of optimizing my portfolio, online presence,
yeah.
networking heavy, and just making sure that I'm lucky to meet the right people at the right place, at the right time.
So you're just taking advantage. Yeah, that's awesome. And you did your research, obviously. I mean, Reddit, you said you found the source, and I'm
Yes.
assuming you're using all types of resources in terms of, I mean, you know what career you want to get into, and so now you're just kind of being a sponge, soaking up all the information that you can and building the credentials, I'm assuming.
Mhm.
Do you have your degree? Are you planning on getting your degree?
Mhm. That's the plot twist to this. So no, I don't have a degree, not even close to an associate's. At this moment, I don't plan on getting it because the goal now is possibly, if the command approves, get a skill bridge. But the next thing would be just get a job in tech. And the beauty of software engineering, web development, and programming is you don't need a degree. Like
Wow.
as long as you have like the experience and, as mentioned, like online presence to show that you know how to code and that
Yeah.
you're well with speak as long as you're like well with people as well, you're a
Yeah.
people person, like it's possible to get that job.
Cool. And so have you reached out? I mean, I saw your LinkedIn. I'm assuming you're networking already with different companies. I'm assuming you've reached out to certain companies that are you going to work with them on SkillBridge?
So yeah, so the plan right now is I actually have my own Excel hit list of, it's called a hit list, but it's companies that I probably want to go to. And within those categories, it's like, all right, I have like there's eBay, there's UHG, there's Wells Fargo's, et cetera, et cetera. And now it's just a matter of I've connected with those folks for the skill bridge opportunity. But on top of that, I network in other ways. So that could be like either a code LinkedIn message, a code email, Veterati, very useful, are going to local tech meetups in the Colorado
Yeah.
area, which I'm going to next week.
Yeah, networking is a huge thing. I mean, as you know, and not to get too deep into it, but yeah, I started the Skill Bridge program like in August. I got, luckily connected with a company that I was able to work at, financial, well, an RIA. And then from there, like meeting different people, going to these events, right? These quarterly meetings that they have, and
Mhm.
all these things. I didn't realize how important it was to meet people and network,
Yeah.
especially people in that industry and people that can show you the ropes, and surrounding yourself with people that know more than you. And then also
Mhm.
find that your military background is a huge benefit to their company, and are willing to
Mhm.
take you on and all these things. It's a huge deal, like connecting with people. And so, I mean, obviously you're doing the same thing. And I mean, that's one of the things that I can't help but harp on heavily, besides the preparing and the credentials and all that stuff, is actually going out and meeting people in that industry, because you don't know what you
Mhm.
don't know. And then you're also, who you do know will help you out tremendously. That's the difference between getting a job and not getting a job, or starting a business and not starting a business. So that's great, man. And so, out of your hit list, have you already reached out to any of these people, or is it kind of just still in the planning phases?
It's a little bit of in between. So some of the companies, for example, like let's say eBay, UHG, Wells Fargo,
Yeah,
I've connected to and talked to through LinkedIn and also through like 50 strong networking events. So that's where I kind of got like my hit list from of people I've talked to, and then places that I do want to pursue. I always have like an approach. I actually have like templates. They
yeah,
work. It's gonna code templates of like how am I gonna email this person, and then I always like
that's great.
add to it of how I approach them.
Yeah, that's a great point. The way you communicate and reach out to these people is one big. It's the presentation, right? It's the first
Yeah.
appearance really matters. And
Mhm.
I mean, I can get deep into that too, and my experience was that. But that's super important, especially when you're going out and you're basically selling yourself and selling
Mhm.
who you are and your whole package and what you have to offer. And so that's, I mean, the communication part is huge when reaching out to these, especially if you're reaching out to a bigger company. I mean, like eBay, sheesh, like I imagine you're trying
Yeah.
to you're these guys are getting, hit up all the time, and so you have to make yourself stand out. And I'm sure you're doing that. And so, anyways, that's awesome. And so for anybody that doesn't know, I mean, because a lot of people apparently don't know about the Skill Bridge program. The DoD Skill Bridge program is an opportunity, approximately 180 days from data separation for all DoD service members, right? Marines, Navy, Army, Air Force, right? Like me, an opportunity for them to take on an internship, a company of their choosing that's on the DoD website, the DoD Skill Bridge website, sorry, for them to be taken on and basically do a unpaid internship, right? You're still technically active duty for those 180 days. So you're still receiving your entitlements. You're still receiving your basically whatever you've been getting paid, up until that point, for that next, 180 days, 6 months or so. And that's 180 days, in entirely skill bridge, or 120 days with 60 days of terminal, right? Or however you want to work that. And I can get deep into that in another video, but that's basically what it is. It's a great opportunity for veterans, especially if
Mhm.
that gives you a foot in the door, basically, with whatever company you're trying to work with or whatever. Basically, most companies, I would think, would want to take you on knowing that, hey, you have all this work experience. I mean, they love veterans, they love military members. Also, they don't have to pay you for 6 months. And
Yeah.
so that's like the real big selling point that, I found to be beneficial when presenting this pack, especially if the company's not on the DoD Skill Bridge program, they don't know what the heck it is. You That's like a really big selling point, because you already had them at your veteran, but to top it off, they don't actually have to pay you, because a lot of internships, which I didn't know, are actually paid, right? And
Yes.
so they actually save money and have free labor with having you on, right? And then you just leave a
Mhm.
good taste in their mouth. And then, within a couple months, really, they can give you a job offer. And then you take it on when you're on terminal leave. It's the biggest thing. And you get two paychecks while you're on terminal leave. It's awesome. Um, cool, man. And so now with your transition, and you're 10 months out, you said, right?
Correct.
Um, you're I know you're middle mill, right? You're middle mill currently still,
What do
or
you mean,
not
middle
any
middle?
longer? Aren't you? I'm sorry, isn't your spouse in the military too?
Oh, veteran now since
Veteran now.
2019.
Oh, okay, okay. And so now you're both veterans, right?
Hmm.
And so that transition and you going into your, career of choice now, how else are you preparing for that as far besides the education and the networking? I guess how are you mentally preparing yourself for this leap, going from uniform to no longer wearing the uniform and all that?
It's like a bittersweet feeling to where like I'm excited to where I want it to be like tomorrow. And then I'm like, all right, I can kind of like wait that 10 months and just enjoy the days that I'm wearing uniform, putting on my boots and like going to work and seeing the soldier that I work with. I think from partner perspective, definitely the wife is ready just because she's been in. It's a little bit harder, when you're bouncing with like kids, military life, and then trying like to transition like, at the same time.
Yeah.
And I would say like the the number one thing is where do we want to live after? It's like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I'm like there's so many. Do we kind of wait for an offer and see where they put us, or do we actually like now take control? Because in the military, you don't always have a choice to choose where you want to go. But now that we have the opportunity to kind of like, oh, we can go here, and it kind of feels weird. But oh,
Yeah.
I can go there now.
Having
Like, oh
that
yeah.
choice, right? It's interesting. You're in the
Hmm.
military. You're technically you're working for the freedom of Americans, but you don't feel like you necessarily have enjoyed that freedom, right? You kind of
Exactly.
sacrifice your own personal freedom being in the military, and that's something that's universal in the military. And so that is definitely something that's been difficult for me as well, right? I know this video is not about me, but my transition for me going out and become trying to adapt, and I tried growing my facial hair because I didn't get to do that
Yeah.
the last 6.5 years, and it didn't work. I was just like sick and tired of seeing my face with a beard, so I shaved it. I'm trying to grow my hair out. It's just this whole thing that's, people take for granted, this, what is out here in the regular world, and not having
Hmm.
to do the whole day to day military thing. And then it's just a whole bunch of things because I can go on and on about, what's so different about here versus there. And then
Hmm.
even the workplace, right? The workplace is so different.
Hmm.
There's a different camaraderie you get when you work in the military versus in the civilian world. There's a different outlook on your job and the scarcity of jobs and all these different things. Like I did a video on, in the military, you worry about getting paperwork or pay deductions, or you have to really severely screw up badly in order for you to like get considered to get kicked out or go to jail or whatever, right? And in the civilian world,
Hmm.
it's like you can just make one fib and they don't need you anymore and you're out, and now you have to look for a different job, and that can go last for months and so on and so on. And so it's like all these things go through your brain as a veteran, and I'm assuming some of those thoughts have come to your head too, and you have to kind of figure out how to deal with that, right? And
Hmm.
that's kind of like where I was getting at with that question, is like, how do you, I guess, how are you getting trying to get your brain wrapped around all of that as well? I know it's kind of a mouthful, but
Oh yeah, it's no, it's fine. It's definitely. I think it will be hard to wrap my head around it because I'm not there yet. That's like the scary part because I'm not in that situation. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not worried about it now. Like the things that I like always worry about is just like where am I gonna live and am I actually gonna get the job when I get out? Like, am I actually gonna
yeah,
get a job? You know what I mean? Am I gonna still have roof over my head? I still have like 90 days of terminal, so I'm like, in a way, I have like 3 months. If I don't get a job, what do I do? But then I also have like this confidence because I've been going through the muck like every day, like since last year of trying to get this job, trying to look my best and perform my best and code my best. It's kind of like, Kobe back against the wall, mama mentality. Like I gotta do it. Like, no matter what,
yeah.
I have to like
You
perform
have to.
to
No, that's
no
definitely a thing.
choice.
It's that work ethic that the military kind of instills in you, the long hours, the grit, the dealing with BS, right? That everybody has to go through. No matter what job you have, we all kind of deal with the same principles. And that translates super well in the civilian world, right? Keep,
Hmm.
dressing the part, right? Keep holding yourself to a different standard.
Hmm.
The little things like that, how you speak to different to people, really shows a big difference. I mean, when I was working at this my last my skill bridge program, the small things, right? It's just my outfit alone. Like, oh,
Hmm.
I just dressed sharply, all right, which in the military is like a no-brainer. Of course, you're gonna dress sharp when you're, I mean, right? And in this place, it's like, wow, you really dress like that every day? I'm like, yeah. You know, and, when I said this in a video before, but it's like when the boss came around, I stood up at my desk, and when he was talking to me, I would stand up and I would talk. And he's like, "Why are you doing that?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's just I'm being respectful, I guess." You know, he didn't want me to call him sir. He wanted me to call him by his name, and it was
First
just
name,
all
I
these.
remember that.
Yeah. And so he was like, this is kind of weird. And I'm like, this is weird for me too, because I'm not used to this, right? I'm like, what are you, my buddy? It's like I can't. Yeah, so it's those things, but to them it's weird, but also it puts a good shines a good light on you as
Hmm.
a worker, as an employee, whatever, and it really makes you stand out positively in their eyes, right? And makes you seem more valuable, more mature. It
Hmm.
pushes you in a leadership role faster. I think, in my opinion, it made me look not necessarily look physically 10 years older than I was, but it made me seem like I've been doing this for a while. And
Yeah.
so that's something that veterans, I mean, we have upper hand on when it comes to that. It's just all that whole military veteran package that we already have right in service, and then
Hmm.
that's something that we just carry on, like a no-brainer subconsciously outside, even when we're out. I mean, 10 months from now, I mean, technically 4 months, right? Because you go on skill bridge in 4 months.
Mine would be in August 1st.
August. I mean,
August 1st.
that comes up so fast,
Seven
and
months. Yeah.
it's gonna hit you like a ton of bricks. And that transition, I'm gonna do a video soon on my experience with the whole move, just the move in general, going from Augusta, Georgia to San Diego,
I remember,
California.
yeah, I kind of remember
And
seeing, social media. I was like, oh,
yeah,
it's a far
it,
move. A
it
Diddy
was
move.
tough. It was a Diddy, and well, now they call it a PPM now, personal procured move,
Oh,
which
okay,
I didn't
yeah.
know until then. Like I was just getting thrown all this information. I had to learn everything at the fly because they give you resources, but they don't.
Hmm.
But you don't really know until you're actually doing it, right? What's going on, and that's a whole nother story, and I'm gonna get into that later. But
I'm gonna
it
watch
was a
that video because
it was
I
a
need that.
crapshoot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can learn from you.
by all means, there's so much there. God, I can get into it. Never mind. But so you mentioned you're trying to find a location to live at. I mean,
Hmm.
it's really also determined by the job I mean, the program that you choose to go with too, right? It's kind of gonna
Hmm.
deter you and determine where you end up. And so, like you said, your spouse is a veteran as well. Is there any um, I guess for both of you, as you're both kind of transitioning. I mean, she's already a veteran, but in a
Yeah.
way, now you're both right
The
officially
family's
really
transitioning.
a family transitioning
Yeah.
from the military lifestyle to civilian lifestyle. I mean,
Hmm.
both of you as a family, how are you both adjusting to it? I mean, it's just like, is she feeling the same way you're feeling, or is she already kind of went through it and she's just like giving you the ropes, or what?
I think it's more of an excitement now because we see she sees the type of like, the late nights of working that I do, and she sees that type of lifestyle that can come with it, like a software engineering world. So like with that, they're always most jobs are either hybrid or remote. I kind
Yeah,
of figured since it will be my first foot in the door, it might be more hybrid or in person, but 3 to 4 years with the high growth of this job field, like I can work remotely. We can live somewhere else in the United States. We can travel, maybe go to Europe, go to Asia, bring the
yeah.
kids, kind of like to show them what's the song? I can show you the world. You know what I mean?
All right, that's my next
Yeah,
video.
I mean next
Disney
video.
karaoke.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much we're nervous, but we're also like just very excited.
Okay. Well, that's awesome, man. So I mean, all right, so we have about 10 minutes left. But I mean, that was honestly the whole point of these videos is to kind of it's a resource for people that were in my position that are currently in your position. I mean, when I was going YouTube and looking up information or just other people's experiences with this whole thing, you could barely find anything, right?
Hmm.
And so I wanted to make it a point for the next person that was in the situation, once they were in this position, they had somebody they could relate to, and they didn't have to learn stuff the hard way, right?
Hmm.
And knowing that there's so many different avenues you can go about once you transition out, right? It's kind of the same pattern of transitioning from military to civilian. We all kind of have the same things, but once you're out, I mean, we all go off on our different paths, right? And
Hmm.
so with you, I mean, you going into your computer programming path, with Mikhail, my last video, going off into the aeronautical path. I mean, everybody has their different path and different prep, but the same principles still apply, right? Your preparation, your
Hmm.
education. You don't necessarily need a degree, especially depending on the job that you choose to do, but you
Hmm.
do need to know what you're doing, or else nobody's going to hire you.
Hmm.
Competency, right? And then obviously the package that you bring as an 8 year veteran and somebody that and knowing that do have value, you do have things to bring to the table that nobody else can offer, and especially when you go off and you're literally less than 1% of the population,
Hmm.
that applies for whatever job it is, right? And so that's great. Later on, I definitely want to get into how, because I do hit on like finance and budgeting and all that stuff in my videos, not as of late, but I definitely want to get into that. Um, Quickly, what advice do you have to give to people that are currently in your position? And then how do you see the next, I don't know, year going for you, I guess?
Hmm. All right, so to answer the first question, I think my biggest advice for those who are transitioning or even thinking about it is like start tomorrow. Not start tomorrow, start today. You know what I mean? Even when you first join the military, like kind of just think like understanding it's a contract. So it's like 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Like you have to kind of think of that like, okay, what are you going to do after? Whether it's 5 year contract and maybe you want to do some schooling little by little throughout the years, or you have like a certain skill trade you want to go to. I think the biggest thing is even though if the job doesn't relate to your MOS or your job, just find something that you want to do and then like commit to it. And
Yeah.
as you commit to it, network with people in that field so you can just learn more about it.
No, exactly. And then what do you see yourself maybe 12 months from now? What do you kind of see happening with
12
Stefan?
months
What do you
from
see?
now, it's November. I mean January now. Still be a little bit on my terminal leave. I definitely hope to have a job by the time I get out. Like right at least Christmas time. Like the goal is to have a job, either living on the East Coast, maybe North Carolina or something, or wherever the job takes me on the West Coast, open Washington. So
Yeah.
many opportunities where you want to go. Having a job and then just taking a post-military vacation with the family, like somewhere, just to it'll be like not the retirement, but it's kind of like all right,
No, that
yeah.
is a good point. That's a good point. And that all those things are going to definitely happen. I mean, I can't, and we only have 6 minutes left, but I definitely can't harp on also enough with the enjoying your terminal leave, actually
Hmm.
taking your terminal leave. Like, yeah, you have skill bridge, but most companies are cool with you taking off because they're not paying you at all, at least
Wow.
in my
Yeah.
experience. And so like if you take off, if you have 60 days of terminal leave, try and take those 60 days, go off and do something else, because you don't realize how much the military, how much your job and the whole time span of your contract actually wore on you until you're actually like, oh yeah, I don't have to report anywhere. Or oh, okay, like, because it's not necessarily always about you physically being drained. It's your mental, your brain, your emotional,
Hmm.
everything. You don't realize you've been high strung for 6, 7, 8 years, and now you have an opportunity to like just really laid back and enjoy yourself. And work's always going to be there, right, as they say. and
Yeah.
so and so actually enjoy your time off, and I know you're going to do that. And then you made a good point. It's that preparation start today, right? Not tomorrow. It's tomorrow never comes, right? It's beginning the transition today, even on day one of your contract, because 4 years goes by so fast, 6 years goes by so fast, 8 years
It
goes by
does.
so fast. And before you know it, you're like, what the heck have I been doing? Right. I've been spending my
Hmm.
paycheck eating out and whatever. I bought a $500 a month truck and
Yeah.
I can't, and what do I have to show for the last 4 years of my career? It's like
Hmm.
you have to use your TA, use the education benefits, use I don't know the equivalents to armies, like the Air Force. We have Air Force Cool to pay for certain certifications. I
Hmm.
think
Army
I think
cool, same thing.
same thing. So Army Cool, right? Air Force Cool, and use the military uses you and really honor, and not to talk bad about it, but they definitely uh take the most out of you, and
Yeah.
there's resources for you to take the most out of the military. You just have to know it's out there and use it intelligently, and you just do your research and look out, right? And we mentioned a few of them in this video, but there's resources out there for you to actually make that transition, make that leap, make that jump. And once you're both, if you have one, you'll feel it once you have one foot out the door, but once you have both feet out the door, you'll feel you spent the time wisely, and you'll have that umbrella, so when you go out in the rain you'll be covered, and
Hmm.
everything will be good. And so, no, this was great, man. This was a great conversation. I felt like it went by so fast.
Yeah, these used to go by so fast.
I
It's a lot to
definitely would
talk
like.
about.
There's a lot, and maybe in the future we can get into specifics of different topics.
Hmm.
And do you we have like 3 minutes left, but as far as your, I guess, you getting closer to this your skill bridge and all of that, um has there been any pushback from your, people in your units or whatever? Have you been
Hmm.
having a smooth transition, or are people trying to convince you to stay in?
Not convinced me to stay in, but because I did report to this unit in October, so 3 months ago, or two and a half months ago, I came
Yeah.
to a new unit 2.5 months ago, and the E9, I told him the day one that I'm ETSing. He's like, "Oh, really? Like, what are you gonna do?" And I told him my plan. He's like, "Okay." He said, "We're gonna use every last bit of you into your last day." I was like, "Roger." So, okay. In my
Yeah,
head, I'm like, "We'll see." They always say that. I'm like, "All right, whatever."
yeah, they do. And you just gotta, everybody deals with that. Apparently, I dealt with that
Yeah.
too, right? They're gonna give you a hard time and like, why do you want to get out and all these things? And they're gonna try to convince you somehow. And I don't know why they all do that, but it seems to be a common
Hmm.
common theme with people getting out of the military. You
Hmm.
just gotta stick to your guns and know what you want, and know that
Exactly.
no matter, at the end of the day, it's just gonna be you or you and your family.
Hmm.
And you PCS, every 4 years or whatever it is, every 2 years, and you never see some of these people ever again. And it's the same
Hmm.
thing when you're about to separate. You're never going to see this person again, right? They'll probably
Yeah.
retire in 2 weeks,
And they'll
and
need
whatever.
you when they get
Yeah,
out, and they'll be in the
yeah,
same shoes as us. It's gonna
exactly.
happen.
And don't burn any bridges, right? Even no matter how
Hmm.
much of a jerk they might be, because somehow, some way, things end up, people end up crossing paths,
Hmm.
somewhere down the line, right? And so, I mean, I hope we left a lot of golden nuggets here. I hope you took something from this video. I definitely plan on doing more videos like this in the future, obviously with veterans from all types, all walks of lives, and hopefully that it becomes a great resource for you. I have to end the video, but Stefan, thank you so much for doing this video. The call is going to
Yeah.
end soon, and
Yeah,
so
bro.
thanks, brother. I appreciate your time, and good luck on everything.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Thank you for inviting me out, and I love to help out anybody who's in this transition space as well.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Bye.
All right.